that better?
That's a lot better.
Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
My wife is elsewhere in the house, so I don't want to be like shouting. So I'm like, all right, I'll put on my earbuds and we'll go that way. But sometimes when I lower my voice and the microphone's not nearby, everything just goes away.
Oh man. All right.
But we'll figure it out.
Okay, cool. So I don't know if you've seen this show, but in the first 10 minutes or so, I play about 7 clips that were released. And then, so about 12:10, 12:11, I'll introduce you in. And then that's when we start our interview.
Cool, man. All
right.
good. All good.
And
I assume I'm just like kind of hanging in a virtual green room until.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you are. And I mean, everyone can hear us right now. I mean, our mics are hot, but yeah. All right.
That's cool. I feel like my hair game is lacking today.
No, I was gonna say. I was like, it's so funny because I think it was when Rand was on. It was like whose hair is better? It's like your hair game's on point too.
I don't know. It's pandemic hair, right? This is what happens when you avoid the salon too much.
Yeah, I ended up cutting my own hair. I learned how to cut it like every Friday right before the show.
Dude, no. Just right here, professional. I have had in my life, I'm not kidding, 4 hairstylists in my entire life. And 3 of those have only been at Aveda salons. So I am that guy.
All right. You're waiting till they reopen.
Not going for mani-pedis, we're here in Southern California. And so like they've reopened a couple times where I'm at in Ventura County. And I managed to sneak in twice over a year for haircuts. And it's good because then like you get to a point where your hair is like down to your chin and I'm just like, it's driving me nuts. Like I can't do anything. I've got hair bands to hold it back and it's just like, crap, I gotta do something. And finally I'm going to be like, cut it all, right? and then it just keeps growing back.
It looks good, brother. It looks good.
Yeah. And I promise, listen, for everybody who is listening to us, like we're going to cover something that's like more than hair. I mean, if that's what people want, get into that. But really, we can do better, I think.
All right. Let me go ahead and just greet everyone that's coming in. All right. All right, for anyone watching the replay, don't forget to skip this countdown. For anyone watching the replay, go ahead and skip this countdown. Don't be shy. Say hi. I see a bunch of you out there. Let's see. Bradley from Canada, what's up?
There we go. My fellow Canadian. The one.
Hobby from Poland, what's up? Shar from Vegas, what's up? MCam from San Jose, what's up?
Fellow Californian.
Oh yeah. Zen Lennon from Las Vegas, what's up? Oh yeah.
Digging the vibe here.
I was hoping that you could play at the end. We'll see.
You don't want any of that.
I had an episode where someone played the violin. Oh my god, it was killer.
Yeah.
I guess they plugged it into their computer and just going to town with it.
Yeah, so the closest you get to me is me sitting here looking at it going, where is the C chord again? Anybody want to help me out? That'd be it. So it's kind of interesting because it turns out music is like a different language, really. I love it, but I suck at playing guitar. Holy cow!
You make them though. I see you make them. I saw some videos when I was researching.
Building them is a much more mathematical endeavor, and then some creativity sprinkled in when you have the moment. But the rest of it was like most of the guitar bodies that I work on, I got them in a friend's shop, and he has a car-sized CNC machine that we work off of. And then that CNC machine used to be what Fender used. So, like, it's purely mathematics. It's purely, you know, every 1/100th of a millimeter is plotted on a curve, and it has discrete coordinates, and the CNC just does it, and then you're like, oh, here we go. That's it. I could do it all by hand, and I've done it all by hand, but why would you want me to do that when you can make it perfect on the machine? And then my creativity goes on top of that. So it's a lot of fun. We'll get into that.
All right. Yeah, I want to know all about it.
But it's cool hobby.
All right. We got 3 minutes, guys. 3 minutes. Don't forget to say hi. Don't be shy.
I have one of my dogs with me in the office today. Luckily for this call, this is my dog, SEO dog. So she's the one who's like full-on expert SEO. My other dog's more of a social media dog. So, you know, like mostly it would be her staring at us in the camera, waiting for people to say how beautiful she is. Very Instagram friendly.
All right, Greg, what's up from the Bay Area? Yeah, I have 2 Yorkies, and I always hope that no package will come in or come at the same time when I'm live.
I swear, 2 minutes ago, my watch vibrated, and I'm looking at my ring, and I'm like, is that a delivery or just like a bird went by? Like, I don't know which it is, right? Luckily, there was no reaction, so I'm like, all right, it means there's no package. We're good. So where are you based out of?
I'm based out of California, Oakland, California, right here in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay, yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, for some reason, I thought you were in like the Netherlands or something, right? And I'm just like, this is so cool. I get to do shows like this from people that are in like Amsterdam. I'm here, it's this and that. And I have no idea how I got that idea in my head, you know? And then it's like, oh wait, you're just literally up the road from me.
Yep.
Just drive up the coast and there we are. Although, in fairness, I haven't been up the coast in a long time.
Oh. Do you drive, do you take the 101 all the way up to the Bay Area?
Yeah, I try to. I really like to just stay out on the coast as much as I can because, like, I'll come back from LAX and I'm on a business trip, which, you know, prior to the pandemic was like every week. And the beauty of driving up PCH is I find it very soul fulfilling. Like, you just get to disconnect. You smell the salt air. There's this shift that happens. And when it's a Friday afternoon after you've landed, you know you're easing into your weekend, like put on your favorite music, drive up the coast, and you're like checking off someone's bucket list, you know? And it's just like, I'm looking at it going, this is my backyard. I got to appreciate this. So love that run. Because otherwise, you know, you're just, give me an autonomous car on the 5, like, because there's like nothing to see, so.
All right, we're about to start. Let's go ahead and get this going.
Yeah. Hey, time to get it started. No delay. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO video show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre De Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released within the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is the VP of Industry Insights at Yext, Duane Forrester. Before we get started, I want to say hi to everyone in chat. I see Bradley, Greg, Adrian, M. Kern, Hobby, Zen, Shar. Hello, and welcome to the show. And those watching the replay, hello, and hope to see you next week live. Now let's go ahead and pick this week's winner for the 1-month access to IMG courses. Again, if you want to get entered automatically, go ahead and put I love SEO in the chat right now, and let's go ahead and take a look. So this is, you get 1 month access to this course. It's like a Udemy for SEO courses. So be sure to check that out. Let's go ahead and pick this week's winner. Akadi, email me. with Mikes. What's up? Email me. LaFond. All right. Be sure to put I love SEO in the live chat or comment in the section for next week's SEO giveaway. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when we go live. Now let's get on with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Where is the best place to hide a dead body? Page 2 of Google.
Google says people appreciate product reviews that share in-depth research rather than thin content that summarize many products. That's why they released the new products reviews update, which is designed to reward such content better. I joined Craig Campbell and Robbie Riches on the Semrush Live this past week and asked Robbie what are his thoughts on this update. Please, he also gives some tips on creating an excellent product review. Let's take a listen.
They put in there. I think it's a good thing because, you know, like anything, like SEOs cannot have nice things, generally speaking. So, you know, you see something come out, or there's every approach tends to get worn, right? And you see a lot of these product reviews, like everyone's using a very similar template these days. So it makes sense that Google, as it's always trying to do, reward the highest quality content. Like people actually go the extra step. Where they're getting actual experts in certain fields to like write the reviews. Or the thing that I liked too, and it's something that I personally try to do in my product reviews, is not just do a, hey, here's a feature dump that you can basically find on their website, but I break them down into sort of like hybrid review tutorial pieces where, yeah, I'm talking about their features, but within each of those feature sections, I go through and actually show step-by-step how to use the tool to do very actionable things. And so, you know, I'm happy to see that they're like searching for more of that too, because I feel like by nature, like if you read a review, you want to come away like knowing specifically how you could use that to do something. So it's starting to reward more of that type of content.
Alita Solis was on the Google Search Central channel this past week, telling us all about the Web Almanac. Let's listen in.
The Web Almanac is a comprehensive report on the state of the web, backed by real data. It comprises 22 chapters, spanning aspects from page content to user experience, including SEO. The goal of the Web Almanac SEO chapter is to identify and assess main elements and configurations that played a role in a website organic search optimization. The Web Almanac analysis in 2020 was based on 7.5 million websites from the August 2020 datasets of the HTTP archive, taking into consideration both raw and render HTML elements. It also included data from Lighthouse and the UX Chrome report. It's important to note that in the case of the HTTP archive and a Lighthouse, the data is limited to the website homepages only, not site-wide crawls.
Alita will be a guest next month, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Last week, Google announced the feature to use regex in the Google Search Console. This brings me to my tweet of the week, which is by Steve Toth, where he shares some regex code to pull in all the questions people are asking when your site shows up through Google Search Console. Fishkin reminds us the importance of brand on the Lunch with Norm show. Let's check it out.
If you want to build something that can stand out from the crowd, something that is protected from, Google changing their ranking systems, that's protected from Facebook, dropping your page's reach, from Instagram eliminating your ability to reach people organically and having to pay for every click and every visit and compete against everybody else who's paying for those clicks and visits. If you want to try and win against all of these big tech monopolies who are incentivized to either take traffic from you or to force you to pay them in order to receive traffic, the way to fight that is to build a brand people seek out. It's really difficult for Google to take traffic away from Lego when people have searched for Lego. And even if they do, Lego probably still benefits from it, because that search, no matter where it lands, almost always is going to result in them being exposed to Lego's product. So if you are building a private label product on Amazon or Shopify or WooCommerce, the best advice I have for you is don't try and compete in generics. build a brand that people will seek out specifically. And there are lots of ways to do that, and SEO can absolutely help.
Speaking of brands, an SEO with the ultimate personal brand, Neil Patel shares some CTR hacks with his on his channel this past week.
The first title change that you can make is start making your title tags questions. Questions tend to get 14.1% higher click-through rate. For example, what is SEO? Question mark. That's an example of a question mark that is a title. And then you can also get 8.6% higher click-through rate for titles that are roughly 15 to 40 characters in length. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing 15-word title tags because that's not enough room to put in keywords, but you can do 30, 40 characters. Once you start going 50, 60 characters, we actually see less click-through rate even though you can put in more keywords. We also see a 45% increase in click-through rate when the exact query is in the URL. So if your URL is neilpatel.com/what-is-SEO, and the keyword that I'm Googling is SEO, and the word SEO is in my URL, you're going to be more likely to get clicks. Power words increase click-through rate by 13.9%. Power words are like effortless, simple, gorgeous, anything that just describes what you're trying to get across. And the more power words that you use or adjectives, the better off you're going to be. You also can see a 17.3% higher click-through rate for titles that contained emotions versus ones that did not contain emotions. So the more emotions that you can convey, the better off you're going to do.
Have you ever wondered how Neil Patel does so well in rankings for his keywords? Sage Media explains one of his most effective strategies. Let's listen in.
So the first thing that Neil has done is he has thought through, especially in these competitive content marketing and SEO focused landscapes, how he can actually rank for those things. Not always is it just content. Neil has also bought a tool called Ubersuggest and redirected it into neilpatel.com. And this tool now represents over 60% of his link profile. And that specific acquisition has lifted up his entire site. If he didn't have that, he would not be able to rank for the same queries he is today in this very competitive space where he's competing against people who are lifted through that work. So Neil has found the intersection of being able to find a great tool that has traffic and value on its own, and also the content that generates links by itself. And Neil didn't stop with Ubersuggest. So Kissmetrics is a great high authority site that also had a lot of high quality content on its blog. And Neil bought the site for over $500,000, actually redirected it into Neil Patel, further building the link equity and the domain authority of that website in order to help his other pages rank.
Interesting stuff there. All right, Kyle Roof reminds us an easy way to create a semantically related page on the Buying Online Businesses podcast. Let's listen in.
So do your search for your primary. And I would say really don't overthink that one. When you do the search for a keyword, if you're looking at those top 10 results and most of them have it in the title, in the meta title and in their H1 on the page, that's your primary. Mm-hmm. Scroll to the bottom of the SERP and you'll see the related searches. Now, half of those are going to be relevant and half aren't. Pick the one that you like the most. And this could be one that has the most search volume itself, but it could also be the one that takes the page in the direction you want to go. Because you'll notice if you look at those related searches, if you were to kind of start writing about one of those, you would take a page this direction, you could take a page that direction. So pick the one that is best for you. Click on that one and you'll do another Google search. Scroll to the bottom of that page. You have another set of related searches. If you find the matching related searches between those two sets, you have now created a page that is semantically related and Google has shown you exactly what it likes.
Perfect.
So those matching subheadings or those related searches become your key subheadings on the page. Now you'll probably have more subheadings because usually you'll get 2, 3, 4 matches out of that. But those first 2, 3, 4 are going to be very strong, very semantically related, and they're going to help you create pages that are extremely strong.
My last clip is not from this past week, but it's a topic we'll be discussing today. Let's listen in.
If you guys are still practicing SEO from 5 years ago, you need to update. You need to get up on these concepts and you need to understand how the search engines are moving in a different direction to answering questions using intent modeling to understand where consumers will be on their journey. Google released about 3 months ago a white paper called The Messy Middle. Go read it.
This brings me to my favorite part of the show. Please ask questions during our conversation as it's a terrific way to learn socially. All right, let's go ahead and get this set up.
God, can I get a voice overlay like that?
Dwayne has 20 years of experience in the search and social fields. He is the founding co-chair of SEMpo's in-house SEM committee. He has written for publications ranging from Search Engine Land, Duct Tape Marketing, to Entrepreneur, the New York Times, and Inc. He is the author of How to Make Money with Blog and Turn Clicks into Customers. He was a senior product manager responsible for Bing's Webmaster program. He ran operations at Blue Sky Inc. He currently is the VP of Industry Insights at Yext. Please welcome the guitar builder, Duane Forrester.
Dwayne, what's up, my man? How are you doing today?
I am good, Trey. By far, best intro role I've ever seen. I think that's extraordinary, man. Good on you.
Thank you. I love to hear that. I mean, Dwayne, I don't know if you remember, but I met you over 10 years ago at an SES or SMX when you just released Bing Webmaster Tools, and you're at the Bing booth. And you were just out there guerrilla marketing and just pushing Bing Webmaster Tools back like over 10 years ago. And it was like, I mean, that was some good stuff.
Still am. I'm still telling people, go there. The tools that were built, they're still maintaining them. They still have data. It's still useful. It's free. If you're an SEO and you don't have an account there, I'm sorry, you're not an SEO to me. That's what it rolls down to.
You better listen to Dwayne there. I mean, I know they just updated it too. So guys, check out Bing Webmaster Tools. It crawls your website. Some great stuff there. Okay. I mean, I remember going to some of these conferences, and some of the conferences was the biggest sessions were when you and Matt Cutts were always there. It's like, oh, it's the battle of Google and Bing. And those were always so fun. I mean, was it always were you guys like really cool? You guys were good friends, or was it kind of like a little battle?
So Matt and I'm not going to say we're good friends, but we were friendly. We were professional. We got along well. We tried to be helpful to each other when we could. There's a philosophical difference in how Google and Microsoft approached events like that. And so that kind of plays a bit of a role in it. But, I remember Matt and I going on stage at South by Southwest one year, and we were sitting in the green room beforehand, a physical green room. And we were just kind of sitting there chatting, wondering what kind of questions we'd get. And then we were brought out, and there were, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of people filling the halls and the room. The fire marshal was kicking people out. We had to have security clear a path so we could get to the front. We were answering questions, and some guy walks up and literally repeats the question that the person before him had asked, and Matt had answered it. Matt points to me and he goes, do you want to handle that? When the question was about cloaking and ethical cloaking and whatever. And I just looked at him and I'm like, I'm not going to repeat all that crap. And so I looked at the guy and I went, I don't think the Klingons ever showed up with good intentions. The room went wild. And I looked at Matt and I was like, is it the Klingons or the Romulans? And he goes, it doesn't matter now. And that was one of the top 10 quotes of South by Southwest that year. And it was just such a good time.
Excellent.
Yeah,
all right.
That's a funny reference because we did that too.
Yeah, I mean, I had to pull that one up because there was one. I think it was in San Jose when you guys actually was Bill and Ted, and you were.
Danny was Rufus.
Yep.
Totally.
All right, Dwayne. I need to rewind this real quick. Take us back before all this. How did Dwayne get into SEO?
Okay. So I, my career kind of started out of university working for casinos that were owned by Caesar's Palace. I'm from Canada, so there was casinos there. And, I was in the marketing department, the PR department. I ran, promotions and was very heavily involved with the high rollers and the marketing and the on-site marketing. I decided to move my career, got into a digital company that was into sports betting at the time. Go figure, gambling. And because look, if you go back 20, 25 years, right, you either started in, pills, porn, or gambling. Those were the three areas basically that you learned SEO in. and mine happened to be gambling. Went to work for the company. Most of the time then it was just like pay-per-click at a penny a click, and it was super easy and it was very straightforward. And then SEO started to become a thing. And at that time, all of us were like, we were in forums and we had handles, but nobody would share their real names because we didn't know who was from Google, and we didn't want Google to know, like who we were and why we were sharing this. So I was sports guy because I work for a sports betting company, not because I'm into sports. I'm not. Like, if my sports come with engines attached, so it's not a good name for me. And then we got to our first conferences and we had name tags with our handles on them. And then we just got to a point within a year or two where we were like, this is crazy. We just have to mature about this. And boom, all of a sudden the industry exploded. There were legitimate conferences. We were all who we were. We were stepping out on stage, sharing ideas that were purely experimental. And you would do a talk one afternoon and then come back the next day, and someone would do a talk based on what you said because they went back to their hotel room and they tried it and it worked. And so like there was this real tight feedback loop that was happening, and it was so exciting. And I was doing all that. I ended up, writing my first book because crazy me, I talked to a friend of mine and said, look, I might want to write an ebook here because I'm worried about forgetting all this knowledge, like, because we all have these things that we're thinking about that we know are important in the moment, and I'm worried about losing it. And hey, maybe I can make $1 a copy on my ebook. That might be cool. And he's from Texas, so he just looks at me one day and he goes, yeah, any bozo can write an ebook. Get yourself a book deal and you're an expert. And it was a total throwaway comment in our conversation. And then I took it to heart, ended up getting the book deal with McGraw-Hill, wrote the book. Microsoft called, took over the program for MSN's SEO there, moved over to Bing, then moved over to running operations at Bruce Clay, and now I'm at Yext. And it's been an extraordinary career. It's amazing.
Love it. Okay. I mean, so like, how did you, I know you're saying it was a lot of experimental, like how were you learning it? Were you like actually, when you were talking to each other, were you just like going through forums? Was it like through like AOL chat?
Literally. It was everything, right? It was, like if you were brave enough to share your idea in the forum, then I was willing to take your idea and see if I could apply it to my suite of websites. And maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. Maybe we need to refactor for whatever the reason, right? You were an early version of WordPress and we had our own custom CMS, but I wanted the same outcome. So it was, an even better example. You're on a Linux server, I'm on a Windows server, you've got HD access, but I need whatever that equivalent is. And, so now I have to learn to bridge that gap with my IT team and actually get them to understand the concept of what I'm doing. So at the same time, I'm learning the nuts and bolts of SEO, the meta tag management, the content outlining, readability, interlinks, and all of this other crap. The stuff that's just so foundational and elementary today. While we were figuring out all of that, I was also at the same time learning how to build the relationships with people outside of my team in order to influence to get the work done. Because you were never going to canonical URLs if you didn't have access to that HD access file. And if they said no, what could you do? You'd go to the owner of the company, you'd both put your arguments forward, whoever the owner sided with, that was the way it went. And you still had to get your job done, so you had to develop all of those skills along the way. And it was literally trial by fire, and sometimes you'd just come across something on your own. You'd just be having pizza with your team, talking about ideas. Someone would say something, it would click with something you thought of or read or heard, and you'd go give it an experiment. These are the days literally where I would walk over to one of our systems administrators and I would say, hey, let's try this. They would put it in and they'd hit F5 and it would refresh live on the internet. And we'd know immediately if it was something that we could keep live so that it wasn't harming the functionality of the website. And then if it did, then we'd have to roll that back instantly, but it was live testing, And then you go to Microsoft and it's like, no, there's no such thing as live anything.
Oh man, if we get stuff live nowadays, like get it indexed in complete, oh my God, that would be some good stuff. I mean, all right, okay. So I'll have to, with the last video I played that you had a comment on. I have to disagree with you on the part where he says, you know, if you're reading stuff from 5 years ago, you know, you can't do it because you know what? I read stuff that were like 8 years ago by you, which still apply today. So totally. I mean, so you can't say that because I was reading your stuff and your stuff still applies today. So
here's my thing, right? Yeah, there's a lot of fundamentals. I mean, really. And to be fair, there's a lot of folks that are coming in that are new that the stuff that they'd be reading from 5 years ago is the fundamentals that they need to start from today. The problem is you have to think of your overall program differently than you did 5 years ago. That's really the crux of it.
There you go, dropping those knowledge bombs, Dwayne. Okay, so when you were talking about, I wanted to go back to when you said you're gambling, like the gambling part, or you're learning gambling. Was this when you were working at Caesars, or is this totally different?
It was after that. It was just a small company in Canada that was involved with sports betting, and they were looking for a marketing manager. I happened to be coming from a casino as a marketing supervisor, so I had the knowledge they wanted. And this is, holy crap, this is, I want to say 2008 or so, just before everything melted down. And everything was new. Like SEO was not a thing at the time, but folks like me were sitting at home in their computers and like triple and quadruple stuffing keywords in their meta keyword tag to outrank someone on Alta Vista. Like it predated Google at that point. And so we're all sitting there like, oh, look what I can do. I can be number one for this stupid thing that no one ever will find and it has no meaning. And then all of a sudden Google came around and said, hold my drink. I'm going to go ahead and organize all this crap and we're going to make it meaningful. And then you started to look at it and say, it turns out I was developing a skill all this time. And, you know, it wasn't just you. At first you thought it was just you because you're in your own bubble. And then you start to find these communities online and you join it and you realize, holy cow, there's like a world of people out there that speak this same language as me. I need to be plugged into it, you know, and it's exhilarating. It still is today.
Yep. Yeah, okay. So were you actually spinning off of the casino part? When you were at Caesars, right? You were at Caesars at one point, or you're consulting. You mentioned.
No, I was an employee of Caesars in Canada.
Got it. Okay, so you mentioned that ideas in a casino loyalty program should be implemented in a company's marketing. Can you explain that a little bit? Like, what was the idea behind that? Yeah.
So here's what I want people to take away from this, right? Pretty much every there's two levels to this, right? First level is, look, if you want a customer loyalty program similar to what a casino does, go ahead and build one, right? That's fine. And if you want to explore that, it can be very useful. It's a little bit harder online and in today's environment because everybody's inundated with everything. You know, you heard Rand talking about build a brand, you know, fascinating that Rand's name is in the word brand, but there you go. And Rand is a brand. So, you know, we can have all kinds of fun with that, right? But he's on point. I mean, like, you need to be memorable. You need to be attachable. The way humans create memories is an idea will come into our head. A synapse happens, and then that connection that happens in your brain, the more you touch it, a protein gets physically wrapped around it. A chemical layer is formed around that idea. And over time, the thicker that gets, that's what makes long-term memory. So in order for you to actually build a brand with someone, look, it's not about the aesthetic. That is a part of it. It's not about, you know, your return policy. That is a part of it. It's about the frequency. It's about people understanding your usefulness in their lives and continually coming back to you, because every time they touch you, it's another layer of protein on that memory. It's building that long-term connection to you. So you have to be very thoughtful about what your brand stands for, because you obviously do not want to build a long-term memory in a way that ends up harming your business. Like, you know, and like this can happen, right? Where you pick a name that sounds like a different word, and then that word becomes a word that society does not like. Your brand now will not escape that, you know? And we see a broader example of this when companies change names. I'm looking at the telephone industry or the cable industry. They seem to always be changing names. And my personal thinking is that's just because they have such bad reputations that they burn out the brand, so they flip to a new brand and off they go. You know, and I know they don't want to be that way. A lot of that is a societal norm. It's not because people are getting bad service. It's because when you set up a new Apple Fire or a new Amazon Fire Stick, for example, the setup process is extraordinarily simple. And if you have anything in your life that is an Amazon connected product, that device takes the information from those other devices and completes a lot of tasks for you. Identifies your Wi-Fi, puts in your password, logs you on, has all of your favorites in there. So it's not like, you know, this, when you get a new laptop and you have to log in and you have to say, hi, my name is Dre, and I'm the administrator, and you have to do all of that crap. Like, Amazon takes all of that out for you. And that's what a brand does. That's how a brand builds itself to be useful in your life. And I don't care if you're selling toilet paper or life insurance, it's that approach, right? So I fully believe in what Rand is saying. There is a massive amount of power in that. Look at it this way. I want you guys to firmly understand this, okay? Google doesn't have to show anyone, right? And you can have the worst SEO in the world, but you can.
Are you guys there? I think I may have lost you guys. Dwayne, are you there? Oh, whoa, that was totally weird. I think we broke the internet with all that knowledge bombs you're dropping.
We may have, man. I've been texting you, waiting on the email, refreshing, logging in again. I'm like, I refuse to give up on this.
Oh, no, cool. We're here. We're back. Okay, I still see some people on. All right, guys, hold on. Yay.
All right.
Sorry
about that, gang. We are definitely not at the... See, this is when you complain about an internet company or a cable company, right? They're like, oh, really? You think so? Nuke.
Oh, my God. Oh, you know what? I wonder if that was happening. They could have been listening. You're complaining about my AT&T, and boom, they cut my internet. Just... All right.
I doubt that was happening. But I'm not going to take... It's like aliens, right? Mm-hmm. Like... I want to believe, but I'm going to need to see the proof, So until then, we'll wait and see. Anyhow, where were we?
Love it. All right. So we were talking about brand engagement and the brand engagement journey. Yeah. So I'm curious.
So, okay.
I
was actually saying, so Google, for branded stuff, you're going to rank well anyhow. Mm-hmm. It's the unbranded that's critical, and you can force Google to include you just based on how consumers are reacting to you. And that's the whole point behind having a good brand. It's the whole point behind doing review management. It's the whole point behind engaging with consumers. It's not about solving the individual problem, because in some cases, the consumer is completely irrational and you can't solve for crazy. However, you can be seen to try. And when I show up and I know that you tried for Dre, I feel good that if I have a problem, you'll try for me. So I'll buy your product. Hopefully everything will just work fine. I recently bought something for my Jeep. I got it. It was broken and defective when I got it. The company was 2 hours away from me. I called them and I said, what do we do? And the guy's like, well, I'll ship you a new one. It'll take, at that point, it'll be like next week when it gets to you. I'll send you the return label. You send it to us. And I'm like, No, I'm 2 hours away from you. I'm getting in my Jeep. I'm driving to you right now. Have your guy meet me in the parking lot. We'll take one that we know works. I'll just do the exchange right there and I'm good. And he's like, I'm down 100%. And I felt good about that because even though it was my time and my gas to drive 2 hours, it solved my problem same day. And the company was willing to work with me on solving that problem. Even though they had pandemic protocols in place, we had to meet in the parking lot. Like, it wasn't ideal. What would be ideal is that crap just worked right out of the box. But apparently I was the 1 in 100 that was going to get the bad piece that was shipped to them. And that happens. So had that company being willing to work with me on that, dude, they get a 5-star review from me. And I don't even talk about the fact that I had to jump through the hoop. I just tell everyone they are here for you. Trust them. Quality of the product is good. Quality of service is good. They're my go-to people from now on. Done.
Boom.
That's it. So when you do that, when you have a brand like that, here's what happens. If Google were to remove your brand and people liked your brand, people would look at Google and say, why isn't this brand here? Google is wrong. So Google knows it can't do that. Google legitimately has to follow the will of the searcher. That's who they're beholding to. So if you can co-opt that, and then let's get back to what Rand was talking about here, all these things that you have to do, the money you have to pay, the things you have to do, the hoops you're jumping through, the programs you'd be involved in, all of that stuff that is a tax on your time and the overhead suddenly becomes less important. It's like, let's rewind the clock 5 years ago. We were still talking about, is Google such a big part of the amount of traffic that you get that if you lost that traffic from Google, your rankings went away, that it would cripple your business and you need to diversify? It's that same conversation again, but in reverse. You get to force Google to include you because your brand is that strong and that powerful with consumers. Takes a bunch of work, but it's doable, and it's doable in every niche for every size company.
Love it. Dropping them knowledge bombs. Let's hope we don't break the internet again here. Okay. So this actually kind of is a perfect segue to the messy middle. I've read this white paper that you mentioned about the messy middle on intent. I mean, this is big right now. This is something I've been doing with at my current job, like intent modeling for keywords and being able to satisfy the different parts of the buyer's journey. Can you tell us a little more how we can take the behavior or the cognitive behaviors that they're talking about in this report and apply it to SEO? Like, what is your view on that?
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of thoughts here. First off, for those who don't know about the messy middle, it's a white paper Google released last, I think, July, and they talk about the customer journey. And look, I know a bunch of you just rolled your eyes because I said customer journey, and we're all over that crap, right? But here's the sad truth of it all. Before you even existed, before I existed, the customer journey existed. And long after we're gone, the customer journey will remain, because this is something intrinsic to every single one of us that want to exchange money for a product or service. That is the nature of the customer journey. It just is. So call it what you want. Say you're bored with it, we're over it. That doesn't matter. What matters is, what Google's talking about is very true here. Typically, when you model a customer journey, it's linear. It's a straight line. So it's customer, we attach to customer, we take them through our funnel, they get to conversion, and then we have our money. That's what the model looks like. What Google is looking at is saying, no, it's more like a ball of yarn that's been managed by 3 kittens. It's a real mess, right? So people come in at various different points and they bounce around and then they leave and then maybe they come back in a different spot and you can't really predict all that. And then ultimately they make their decision. Then they reach this notional straight line funnel that you thought they were in. And only at that point is it a straight line to conversion and they get their product and you get their money. Prior to that, they are in the customer journey because they are trying to figure out, I need a new refrigerator. Which ones are most energy efficient? Which ones fit the size in my kitchen? Which ones have features like this? Which ones can be delivered today? Which ones come with a discount on them? They're trying to figure all that out before they show up on your website to purchase the actual refrigerator. And the reality is that you can show up in a lot of the places along that path. You're not going to show up in all of them. That would be insane to try to do that. Mm-hmm. But you have to know that if you're selling the refrigerator, there's a really big conversation that you're a part of. It's not just about, I need the fridge. It's about, are you remodeling your home? What features does your family need? Do we have size constraints? What are the budget considerations we have? Are we watching our energy usage? There's all of these other conversations that you are intrinsically involved with at a product level that you're not creating content around, but you should be. You know, look, when I was ordering a coffee maker for us not long ago, I had what I thought was a great coffee maker. You know, it crapped the bed after a year, and I was like, well, okay, I'm just going to go simple. Went on, did all my research, and the number one consideration I had after quality and after reviews was how tall was the thing, because I needed it to fit in a spot on my counter that was under a shelf. And so the hardest thing was finding out how tall the coffee maker was. It was easy for me to find out how tall the shipping box that it arrived in is, because that comes from the manufacturer as a part of their shipping and procurement. So that measurement is what everybody puts on their website and says, oh, it's this tall, it's this wide, it's this. And I'm like, you know that it's not a square, right? Like the product itself is not a square. So you can't give me rectangular measurements for all of it. But where's my height? And so I happened to find out the manufacturer. I managed to track down the height I want, and the height was 3/4 of an inch shorter in real life for the product than it was for the shipping box. And that 3/4 of an inch makes the difference. It fits where I want it to fit. Now, had I gone with what they originally had told me, the reseller who was listing it on Amazon, had I gone with that, I would have said, doesn't fit, get rid of it, doesn't fit, get rid of it. Instead, I ended up digging in. I found that data, went back to the reseller, bought it, got it, and now my coffee game is on point. I love my life because of the coffee maker I have. And it's all because of that 3/4 of an inch.
Love it. Okay, so I mean, so with this whole new product review update, I think this is the perfect time to like apply these cognitive biases, like writing for these things, in these product reviews, right? This is like totally the now.
If you're still thinking thin content is the way forward in reviews, look, I'm looking at a dinosaur, because you are being left behind, right? Here's the way I want you guys to think about this. I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey. So on Wikipedia are a series of pages. There's one for Google, there's one for Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, all the big companies. These pages track the acquisitions these companies make. Now, they're not real time. They're only updated as frequently as we get public data about when Google purchases another company or technology. So, or when Alphabet makes that purchase, I should say. But when you go in and you look at this stuff, what you understand is you understand over the last several years the technologies and the features that have been purchased in other websites. You start to get an inclination of what Google is moving toward. Because think about it. Google is a company loaded with smart people, empirically smart people, clever smart people, problem solvers, with the resources at their disposal to make things real if they believe they're useful. And for them to say, no, we'd rather buy this other company, that's an acknowledgement of the expertise that the other company has that they don't possess, because you do that to move yourself forward, right? So now you start to see their investment in machine learning, AI, natural language processing. You start to see all of this through these corporate purchases. Along the way, we see RankBrain suddenly shows up, and then we start to see they're using BERT, and we start to see passage extraction showing up. Now you take all of that and you look at this update, which seemingly would be focused only on the e-commerce crowd because it's all about product information and reviews. It's not. It's one step in a common chain Google's moving toward. Another part on that chain is Core Web Vitals, the user experience. Now they've taken something that's a bit squishy, the user experience, how I react to the placement of a button or to the color of a button, which will be different between Dre and I and for every listener and I, but generally cohorts react in similar ways. And they've taken these steps and they've managed to quantify them in numbers and then give us a rating system for us to look at it and say, page speed matters. And here's where I rate on that. Time to first pixel matters. And here's how I rate on that. Time to interactive. And here's how I rate on that. So that we as SEOs now have empirical ways to measure ourselves to improve the user experience. And when we improve our user experience, Google's UX improves. And that to them is protecting market share. And a single point of market share might be millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars in revenue to them in a quarter. So yes, it's absolutely worth their while to guide businesses in this direction. But more importantly, it's worth your while to go there in the first place, because that's a part of how you cement yourself as a brand that people find useful, which then means Google has to kind of keep you in the rankings.
Damn, some knowledge there. Okay, Dwayne. So this actually is a perfect segue to a quote that you've actually mentioned on a recent webinar. It says you need to be more authoritative on that content than the most authoritative person is on that content if you want to be the most authoritative. So how do we become more?
Yeah, there's a chance I might have over-index on authoritative in that quote. So
I'm curious, so how do we become more authoritative? What are some tips that you can give us to become more authoritative instead of like these thin content?
One of them we just talked about, right? Yeah. Like if you're selling products, then get in there, go hands-on with the products and tell me what matters about the product, because you never know what might matter to me about the product. But hey, here's a clue for you. Go and read every review that you get about the product, because there are a litany of clues left behind from people. Now, they might be upset with you because it didn't meet something, but that's a clue to you to call out the content that answers the question. Or it's an opportunity for you to change a product to solve that problem in the future if you have that kind of power. But that is a direct way to stand out. If everyone is selling the same cordless drill and everyone has the same information from Black & Decker, of course, it's not duplicate content, but it is duplicative content. And Google only needs one answer for that. And that might come down to the price point, because Google wants to show the cheapest one because it knows that will satisfy most consumers for the product. That's great. But what if you're the one that's actually showing short form videos of this drill in action, of it being hung on the wall, and how much space does it take up in a small workshop? Dre, you mentioned earlier my guitar building. That's my hobby. You guys, look, I have a 96 square foot workshop in my backyard that I build guitars in, and I want you to go measure it out. It's small, okay? That's like 8 by 10, a little better than that. It's not a big space. I'm certain most of the rooms in your homes are larger than the workshop that I build my guitars in. But the bottom line here is I need to be efficient with that. So if you have a product telling me the size of the box that it arrives in, the cardboard and the styrofoam that I'm going to throw away, that doesn't help me plan in advance. And the more expensive something is, the more details I want about it, because the higher this risk is for me. Then we're going to start running into that sliding scale of, what do you like to deal with if I need to return this? What does that look like? Because I'm willing to spend my $500, but if I can't easily return it to you, well, I'm not willing to spend my $500. Like, it's all of that back and forth. So you want to be more authoritative? Take a look at who's ranking well. Take a look at what they're doing. Do it better than them. And more importantly, ask your family and friends, ask your staff, is what I'm doing right here answer all of your questions about this product or service? Collect all of that information and then produce your content around it. You can't go wrong diving deep. That's the critical part today.
Damn! Love it. Just dropping those knowledge bombs, just always. Okay, I got one more question to you before, but let's go ahead and ask the audience. If you guys have any questions for Dwayne, please ask them now. Okay, so we actually had one that came in here by Hobby. He's like, which factors do you feel are not in your control?
Okay.
Which SEO factors are not in your control? Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. And that was Javier?
Hobby.
Sorry,
yeah.
Hobby. Okay. So here's the thing, Hobby. You need to control what you can control. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. If you have access to your IT team and they're willing to do things like, alter an HD access file for you, then great. Then that's all in your control and off you go. If that's problematic and you can't do that, then don't worry too much about trying to solve that. You still need to work on it. You still need to build the relationship, get the influence, and have that accessible to you. But you still need to fix content. You still need to focus on content, because let me be clear about this. You might be thinking, hey, I'm writing all this great content, and this is awesome and I feel good about it. What if I told you that most of your consumers wanted 2-minute videos of your content instead of written words? What are you doing with your content then? Because sometimes on different topics, consumers will respond better to a video than they will to written words, or to a list versus a paragraph. So you have to be really careful. Do the research by looking at what ranks well to help understand. Google has laying out all these clues for all of us, right? In one of the pre-roll videos, they were talking about people also liked, and the people also searched on,
Yeah.
these kinds of things. Exactly. Like, the reason Google's doing that is because Google has millions of instances of data from any 1 hour of its existence to understand what resonated with people. You can take those things and go in and say, here we go. So, like, I could sit down, Hobby, and I could say, the only thing we're going to focus on this year is we're going to fine tune the content program that you have. That could fill an entire year of work for you easily. But what you're not going to worry about is you're not going to worry about every single thing that Google puts out there and that they talk about. And here's why. I've been talking for over a year about Core Web Vitals. In the last 3 months, the entire industry has been freaking out about Core Web Vitals. Here's what I've been telling people about Core Web Vitals. Look, if you haven't already fixed it and you're not already scoring close to 100 and you're not already number 1, don't worry about it. Put yours in, take your scores, write them on a whiteboard. Take your largest competitor, put theirs in, write them on a whiteboard. If you're both scoring a 25 and you get a red circle, you both suck. But if everybody in your industry all sucks the same amount, then you're generally okay, because Google can't get rid of all of that industry in its search results without searchers saying, damn, Google, you're broken. So Google has to make do with you at 25. But look, you want to really step it up? Go ahead and fix that crap and make it an 80. Now Google is looking at you saying, you deserve to be position number 1. You deserve featured snippet. You deserve to be the answer. And until somebody does it better than you, you're the authority on it. Those are stealable moments today.
Love it. Love that answer. Okay, I guess Hobby has one more question here. I'm going to take one before I ask my last question. But what's your greatest digital marketing success story?
Okay, so I'm at Affiliate Summit West. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm standing in the hallway. As you can imagine, this conference, there's thousands and thousands of people attending the conference. And someone walks up behind me. They put their arms around me and they hug me, we'll say. In the moment, I felt like I was being abducted. This person was massive. I'm 6 feet tall. They were like 6'7". They were huge. I was nothing in their embrace. And I thought, this may be where I end. And they picked me up, they spun me around, they put me down, they turned me around, and I looked at them and I thought, I have no idea who this person is, and didn't know how it was going to go. And another person walked up and they both then started shaking my hand. And the smaller of these two giants looked at me and said, look, you might not remember us from last year, but we met you here at Affiliate Summit West, and you gave us advice on how to fix something on our website. We went back, we implemented that advice. Our revenue is up over $1 million year on year right now, and it's still continuing to exponentially grow. Here's what that means. I was able to go buy a home for my entire family, and we all live there now with no worries about a roof over our head for the rest of our lives. And that's because of you. And to this day, I have no idea what I said to this person. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not connecting the dots. I have a vague idea of what it was because we continued the conversation, and they told me some of the things they did. And yet it's still one of those bright moments where I think to myself, I had an impact on someone. That's like, yay. And then I was like, damn, why don't we have royalties in this industry?
All right. Yeah. We could have. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. This is my last question. We're coming to close to time here, but my last question is, if someone was trying to get into the SEO field, in the SEO industry, what would be your advice to them? Like, how would you get them going?
So, okay. For the love of God, don't take a $29 course that you saw advertised on some website and think that that's going to give you what you need. I mean, feel free to spend your $30 and take the course. You'll pick up some keywords and jargon and whatever else. But you got to be hands-on and you got to be curious. I mean, like, keep you up at night curious. Like, this isn't a profession where lazy moves you forward. You always have to be asking questions. You always have to need to understand the why behind an action. You not only have to be interested in SEO, you have to be interested in every other function within a company, because you have to understand how to use your knowledge to support others in the pursuit of the company's goals overall. So there's this concept called a T-shaped marketer. And the idea behind it is that you have a very, very deep core competency. So for me, that would be SEO. And then across the top of the T are all these other functions. So you'll have pay-per-click, you will have content, you will have social media management, you will have IT, you will have systems administration, human resources, all of these other things that are within an organization. And you have to have drops in each one of these areas if you want to advance your career. So if you're starting out, you need to be thinking about developing that core competency. It's not like it is today is not like it was years ago. I remember a point where if you didn't have 10 years of experience, the vast number of people in the industry didn't really want to acknowledge that you were an expert, because if you didn't have that knowledge, how could you possibly, you get to a point where like now there's so much information available that honestly, if you've been doing this 2 to 3 years, you've had exposure to everything. Whether you remember it and you've absorbed it, that's kind of secondary, because you know how to find it again. You know how to get the answers to your questions. So really critical. But if you want to grow your career, you want to build this out, and you really want to grow, and I encourage you to, you have to have those competencies in other areas. So be the SEO. But you know what? Buy pizza for the pay-per-click guys, the paid media folks, and learn how they do this in Instagram and in Google and everywhere else. Understand how they bracket things, how they bucket things, what cohorts they're grouping people around. Use that knowledge then to look at your work and say, if I'm going to do keyword research, I need to up my level to actual topic research and intent modeling. And then I'm going to go over here and say, well, here's the behavior the paid guys are seeing on these keywords. So if that represents a person in a cohort at that end of the funnel, can I go backwards and predict what they look like at the top end of the funnel before they get there? And if I do that well, does that then free up revenue that they're spending on costly ads that they can spend on less costly ads, because organically I own the costly ad space? Like, this is how you will grow your career, right? Solving those problems. Going deep on like fixing a core Web Vitals thing, I can't stress this enough. A year from now, it won't be core Web Vitals. It will be something else. There's always another bright and shiny object. Providing value to the company, that's the winner right there.
Love it. Love that answer. Okay, Dwayne. Any last, how can people get a hold of you? Any last comments to make this episode feel complete for you? Please, the stage is yours.
I'm pretty easy to track down at this stage. If you type my name into a search engine, I kind of pollute the results. So I am easy to find. I'm at Duane Forrester on Twitter. If folks want to get a hold of me, feel free to look me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with smart folks. I can be a little bit hard to track down sometimes because I do a lot of client engagements. If we have airplanes in the air, I'm usually on them and traveling somewhere, which is kind of cool because maybe I'm just going to meet you folks out in your neighborhood. So otherwise, dude, Dre, I got to tell you, man, the production value is off the chain here. This has been fantastic, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Can you please hold on just one quick second while I go ahead and sign off here real quick? All
Absolutely.
right, guys. All right, guys. That concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live. And be sure to come by next week at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I will see you next week. Peace.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, cause the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO video show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre DeVera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!